JSK here for the AllStar, and join me right now from Southern Florida is UFC featherweight Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q, Billy the Squid. Is that something new? What happened? What's going on with that name?
Oh, Billy the Squid. That's something. That's like a joking nickname that it's been around for a while. By the way, thanks for having me, brother. Always
Hmm.
great chatting with you.
For sure.
Yeah, Billy the Squid. We kind of joked about that a long time ago, even when I was like an amateur fighter, Billy the Squid. Um, because of like every fight, I would just use my jujitsu. I would take people's backs, wrap them up, catch them in triangle chokes and stuff like that. So it's been kind of brought back up in these in these last few fights, especially the last one. Favolo kept saying Billy the Squid, and that kind of caught on. So yeah, they're bringing it back. I think it's not an official nickname, but the real ones know I'm the Squid.
For sure, man, and especially with the popularity of Squid Game, what can you
Hell yeah,
do?
love it, love it, love it, love it, love the show. I watched it in English. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh man, you got to watch it," in Korean and then watch the subtitles. I didn't know that, but I watched it. I loved it. Thought it was a great lot of really cool moments of it that that can apply to real life. And yeah, I really liked it. So Squid Game, Billy the Squid goes hand in hand.
And another aspect of you being active is on social media, man, with Twitter. What has it been like interacting with the community online? I mean, you've been very active with that.
Yeah, I try to just give the people what they want. I've had Twitter, for years, and I never really liked it. I didn't like it as much as like Facebook and Instagram, just because like you don't really know who everyone is. But ever since I've been in the UFC, I've been verified. I think that helped a lot. It's just cool. Communicating with people, finding fans from all over the world. I put out a tweet the other day about looking for fans in the UK, and there's hundreds of people that like commented and messaged me and stuff like that. So uh, it's just a fun way for me to kind of interact with a lot of people that I don't personally know, and just my way to kind of give back to the fans a little bit.
Any odd or weird moments, weird interactions?
Oh man, yeah, of course. Definitely every interaction with Booger Beard or Bane. Those guys are complete characters. I love those guys. Yeah, a lot of. I remember on the Ultimate Fighter, I got like my first weird like fan thing. Someone screenshotted. I was like in the background of the Ultimate Fighter, and I was in the locker room, and like they were like, it was probably like Faber or someone talking in the Ultimate Fighter, and I was changing, so I had like my boxers on and a cup, and someone like screenshotted that, and they're like, "Yo, Billy Q, is that a Shock Doctor? Nice cup." And that was like my first like, oh man, this is like really weird, and that was years ago. That was my first like weird fan interaction. And now that's just like a normal thing nowadays. People always say weird shit to me, so I'm used to it now, and I love it.
For sure, man. And any accounts that you recommend for us to follow?
I really like I'll have to give a shout out to my boy the Bane, Ben. He's a good dude. I like the guys who are just coming up that and I feel bad for the guys. I have hundreds of people, especially when fights come up, that they want to interview me, and they're just really small accounts. And I just don't have that much time in a day, so I try to help them out as much as I can. I did an interview the other day with this kid named Pat. He was in the UK, I believe. So I try to do as many as I can, because I remember what it was like when I was a fighter and no one wanted to talk to me. No one even knew who I was. So I try to help out some of those accounts if I can. But if you're watching this and unfortunately, I can't do interviews with everyone. But yeah, Bane, Booger Beard, Mac Malley, I love those guys. Those guys are always busting balls. And yeah, just the whole MMA Twitter. It's just like a very like a big family almost. So yeah, I love it.
You're 4-1 since joining the UFC, man. A lot of wild moments, a lot of good wins. Is there any
Mhm.
incident that sticks with you the most?
Uh, man, just it's been such a fast pace. Been such a fast ride so far. I remember, winning my UFC debut. And I remember talking to you before that, so that's why I always got time for you because you were hitting me up before I was in the UFC. So I always got time for anyone who was hitting me up beforehand. I usually try to get back to. Um, I would say my UFC debut and just after that, not knowing where it could have went because it was a last minute opponent. A lot of people just being like, he Billy got lucky, but he's not someone I need to remember yet. And to from going from that to beating a lot of pretty like some pretty good guys in the next few fights, losing to Gavin Tucker and bouncing back in my last fight, and now being at Madison Square Garden, it's almost like surreal to me. The position that I'm in only 2 short years. So it's been a roller coaster ride, and I'm just super blessed and grateful to be in the position I'm in now.
Yeah, you have a combination of things, right? Like nowadays, you have to have that. You have to be able to win, of course, do perform
Hmm.
well. But on top of that, do the other stuff, outside the cage, promote yourself. And you've done that. And I think that's part of why you're in this position. Do you feel that way a little bit at least?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of, putting myself in this position is a lot of, trying to give back as much as I can, trying to be a good person, trying to do the right things, trying to put on exciting fights, looking at my fights as a fan, like what do I want to watch as a fan? And I try to deliver all those things. But there's definitely times where I'm like, man, I got to be doing more. I should be doing other stuff. I got to be, I feel like there's always more to be done, and I could be in a better spot. Being 4-1 in the UFC, there's guys making their debut who blow up. Like you've seen Paddy blow up, which it's like, what the hell, man? Like certain guys like that, you're like, man, I wish, I wish I could get that, but I know as long as I stay the course, I keep doing what I'm doing. The fandom will come and the big paychecks will come. I just got to stay true to myself and just keep doing what I've been doing.
What do you think about that phenomenon of Paddy Pimblett? He has one fight in the UFC. Did you know about Paddy before he entered the UFC?
I did. I actually, funny story. I actually offered. I told Cage Warriors I wanted to fight him years ago. So after the Ultimate Fighter, I didn't get signed. And Julian Arosa, who I'm teammates with, I'm good friends with, he went over there and fought this kid Patty, who I didn't really know of at the time. But then after that fight, I felt like Julian won that fight. If you go back and watch it, I mean, I felt like he really did win that fight. But it was in Patty's hometown. So after watching Julian fight, I asked Cage Warriors, "Hey man, I'd love to come over there and fight this Patty kid," and they were like, they were trying to work something out, but it didn't ever come about. And then again, I knew he started really getting popular. So my UFC debut, I'm supposed to fight Chris Fishgold, and he drops out, and we didn't have an opponent for like 2 weeks. And I actually told Sean Shelby, I said, "What about this Paddy Pimlet guy? He's got a ton of followers. He's looking for a fight at the time." And Sean was like, "Oh no, he's not even in the UFC. Like, we're gonna pick someone else." So I was like, "All right, whatever." So he was on my radar for a while. And I had, I took my shot. I tried to fight him because he was super popular. And now I can't hate on him. I don't hate on him because he's done everything right. But I am kind of jealous that I didn't get that opportunity because I wouldn't have let that fight off the hook. And to have him be 1-0 in the UFC and to have all this publicity, he's got what I wish I had, and it's the perfect combination. It's Americans love him the same way they like McGregor because he's a goofy character and he's not American and he speaks with an accent that Americans love. Like they love like that Irish accent. They love that European accent. Um, you see it with some Brazilian fighters where they can't really speak English, so they don't get as popular. But if you can speak English and you have a cool accent, it's way easier for you to blow up, and especially if you have a country behind you like that. So I'm happy for him. It's going to take me a lot longer to get the fandom. I might have to start doing some crazy shit. But again, I'm not jealous of what what his fighting ability is. But I am jealous that Cage Warriors was pushing him for a long time. They gave him a lot of matchups that really favored him. He's very outgoing, so I'll give him credit for it. But right now I'm just focused on me and fighting the best guys in the world, fighting the top 15 in the world. If we do cross paths, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's in the future. You're way ahead, right? You're way ahead in the rankings, everything. So,
Hmm.
yeah, he's popular. That's right, but he's still got some work to do. Shane
Yes.
Burgos, number 14 in the world, pay per view. What are the
Hmm.
implications of this fight in your eyes?
Oh man, it's just like I was saying earlier, when they called me and told me because I was pleading with Dana in between rounds of my last fight, in between the second and third round. I'm like sitting there, and the doctor's looking at my opponent, and I'm like, hey Dana, I love this UFC Apex. I love what you guys are doing, but this is my fifth fight here. I want that UFC crowd. And he kind of gave me that look, like, handle this first, and we'll see. And I did. I got the finish, and my manager was like, yeah, I think we're gonna get a big opportunity. And they called me with Shane Burgos, and I was like, oh man, I wasn't expecting a top 15, but after that win, I knew I was ready for it. I knew I was going to get a higher matchup. So it's just a blessing for me. It's the type of fights that I've always wanted. When I signed with the UFC, even before I was in the UFC. So to get this opportunity now, it's an absolute blessing. And these last 2 months, I've been doing everything I can do to make sure I go in there and handle business and get that win.
You train in Florida, but you're actually from New York, so you're not heading into enemy territory. You're actually fighting at home versus a
Mhm.
hometown guy. New York versus New York. How is that?
Oh, it's great, and I've already done a fight week at Madison Square Garden. I know Shane's fought there a couple times, but I don't really believe in home field advantage in MMA, especially for something like MSG. There's gonna be people coming from all over the world to watch this fight. He's a popular guy because he's fought in higher level opponents than me. He's lost to three guys in the top 10, and he's beaten Cub Swanson and some high level guys. So it's just a huge opportunity for me. I don't think too many people are gonna be booing me, maybe, but I've already done the fight week at Times Square at Madison Square Garden for Matt Frivola, my teammate. So it's just a great opportunity. This is the type of fight that I've always dreamed of, and I'm ready just to make the most of it.
He's a Tiger Showman guy. When you were younger, did you ever train at Tiger Showman's? Because I heard it's a very popular gym throughout the Northeast.
I have not, but I do recall Matt Frivola. So Matt Frivola's from Long Island. I'm from Western New York, so we didn't. I've only been to the city probably 10 times. So, but I do remember Matt Frivola telling me that growing up, he would always hear about Tiger Showman's, Tiger Showman's, Tiger Showman's, and then he found out they had a really good fight team. He never signed with them. But he's been with Law, since he's been in Long Island. He's heard of them. I obviously know who Tiger Showman is. I know about his school and their background and everything. They have a really good camp. But at the end of the day, I also have a really good camp. I've been training my ass off for this fight, and he needs to be on his A game to beat me.
After your last fight, you said you were ready for a top 15 guy. They're giving you one. What is your breakdown of Burgos' style?
He's good. Even before I got matched up with him, I've watched his fights. I watched the Barbosa fight. I watched the Kelvin Cater fight. The Josh Emmett fight. I've watched his other fights, and I've always known he's just a good fighter. He's a big 145er. He's got good boxing. He's got good striking. He's good everywhere, even though he doesn't really use all of his weapons. He uses just a lot of just kickboxing pretty much. But what I've seen is that he's very beatable. He's breakable. He's gotten finished before. No one is invincible in there, and I think if I put everything together right, if I do what I know I'm capable of, I'm going to be able to dominate this fight and get a finish.
Yeah, his last fight was very odd and scary at the same time. He fell backwards and just went out basically, and then, Barboza finished him. Do you think PTSD exists among fighters?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people are like, we don't know if Shane's recovered all the way or this or that. I have to go in there with just a clear mind, and I'm expecting to fight the best Shane Burgos that we've ever seen. I think he won his first as an amateur. I think he won his first 20 fights or something like that. He's comfortable winning. He's comfortable fighting really good guys. I do know I've only been knocked out once, and I remember I got knocked out with a head kick, and I remember the next fight, I was very hesitant. I didn't really want to exchange as much. I just kept taking my opponent down over and over again, kind of coasted to a safer victory. So I know with me, I didn't want to basically go back there, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't think he's worried about my power because he's fought in guys with my type of power, guys who've knocked a lot of guys out. So I don't think he's worried about it, but I think when I start touching him up, he's gonna kind of realize that I'm not just a grappler that I can throw, and that he's in for a dogfight.
Anything you flipped around in 2021 with your training or your approach to the sport?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I took from the Gavin Tucker loss. I think that was important for me to kind of reassess my game. I got my LASIK eye surgery. I got my eyes fixed. So that last fight was the first fight you've seen me with perfect vision. I've never had perfect vision before. I always had either contacts in or no contacts in, which I had terrible eyesight before. So the eyesight was a big thing. I really ramped up my strength and conditioning program with my guys at Driven. They do a great job. For this last fight, I've been working with former world champion Antonio Tarver with boxing. So he's helped me quite a bit. He's someone that, growing up with, I watched him knock out Roy Jones. He was the first guy to beat Roy Jones. Um, and that's really helped me just working with him and him having confidence in my striking, him working with me and just getting a fresh set of eyes to basically start from square one with like even just basic punching fundamentals and turning punches over. So just adding things up. I'm still getting better. It was a fight where I didn't feel great the next day, but about a week later, I was pretty recovered from it, and I got right back into the strength and conditioning. So this whole year, since pretty much since my wedding day in March, it's been nonstop training camp. So it's been a very long time coming. I'm in my prime right now at 32 years old, and I'm really looking forward to this last month of the end of the year where I could just relax. But in the meantime, those 15 minutes, I'm prepared to die in there. I'm prepared to try to kill this guy, and I'm gonna do everything I can do to get my hand raised. And I'm putting myself in a position where I'm capable of doing that.
Yeah, you're in a great spot, a great opportunity. So, what type of performance do you expect out of yourself against Burgos?
I expect to rise to the occasion. I know I'm a big underdog. I think I'm like a plus 170 or 180 or something like that underdog. But Vegas doesn't know what I've been doing. They don't know my training. They don't know my routine. They don't know me. So I'm preparing to rise to that occasion and prove to everyone that I'm a household name. I'm someone that you got to remember. I'm someone that deserves these big paychecks. I'm someone that deserves to be on these main cards. Um, and it's going to be, for the casual fan. There's a lot of casual fans that only watch these big pay-per-views. I think it's going to be kind of a coming out party and an introduction to who who I am, and it's going to be an opportunity for them to watch me and look back on all my fights and say, oh yeah, like if you've watched my fights that I've had in the UFC already, you can see why I'm capable of winning this fight.
All right, one last question. This is an open-ended question. You could answer it any way you want. You could interpret it any way you want. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? That's a great question. Um, what keeps me up at night is the same thing that's always driven me, and that's just I'm really hard on myself, and I've always known that I have what it takes to be successful in this sport. Since I was 20 years old, I moved to Florida when I was 21, but since I was 20 years old, my goal was, even since I was a child, I've always wanted to be successful. I want to have a lot of money. I want to be wealthy. I wanted to give back to the people that have been riding with me. So I think what keeps me up at night is the pressure I put on myself to be successful. When I moved here when I was 21, it was all about getting to the UFC and winning a world championship, and all the good stuff's going to come with it. So now we're at the point where one win or loss can either propel me to that next level of my ultimate goal, or one loss could severely push me back and to kind of set me back at least a year or two. So what keeps me up is my drive and my motivation that I put on myself to be successful. I have all my brothers and sisters that really support me, and they're all doing really well. They're all successful. I never wanted to be like the one who's asking people for money or who needs a handout. I want to be the one giving back to my family members and my parents and stuff like that. So what keeps me up is that pressure that I put on myself to make it in the sport. Which if you look at the stats, I think maybe 1% of the people that train martial arts actually are successful and get to this level. So I know what I'm capable of. I think I'm about 4 or 5 big wins away from my ultimate goal of a world championship and multimillionaire success, wealth, and that's right now what's been keeping me up.
All right, November 6th, UFC 268, New York City, Madison Square Garden. You can't write it any better. Billy Q, Shane Burgos. It's fireworks, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Ah, man, thanks for having me, bro. It's always great chatting with you. Have a good one.